Alright guys, welcome along to our next lesson on misleading graphs, and this is really where it's all been building up to. So we're going to look at our knowledge of graphs and how we can manipulate them into saying what we want to say. So I'm just going to show you a few different graphs that I've got from around the internet and why they're misleading, and then the questions in the textbook will take you through interpreting some other graphs and how to draw your own. Alright, so let's first of all look at this graph here. You can see this graph here. On the left hand side we've got 3 bars, 3 columns, starts at 0, goes up to 6. You can see that the gap between this one is just over 4, this one's just over 5, and that one's just under 6. You can see there the difference between them all is not that great. With just a small change, instead of starting at 0, starting at 4, we can make it look like the difference between the 3 of them is huge. Alright, so people looking at this one on the left hand side here would look at it and go, oh wow, this golly, this is obviously the biggest, this is obviously the smallest. Whereas on the original graph, when it starts at 0, the difference is not that big. Alright, so there's lesson number 1. Starting at 0 is important, and you need to look at every graph and ask yourself, does it start at 0? And if it doesn't, why have they changed it? This graph over here shows us the average house prices in England, because it's in pounds. It says here that this one is from 1998 to 1999. It says massive increases. You can see this huge gap here. If you look at the scale, it's only 80,000. However, if we graph it starting from 0, we can see that the gap here at the top is only a tiny amount. Definitely not this huge jump seen here on the left hand side. Right, now they're both accurate, but we use changes like this to highlight different things. So if I was trying to make a statement and say, oh, house prices have had this massive jump, I might graph it like that. If I was trying to claim that house prices hadn't had a massive jump, I would graph it like this. All right, so statistics can be manipulated depending on what my message is. So this one over here is another example. If you look at the scale on the bottom, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Up the side it goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, which is very strange. All right, so it makes it look like there's this massive spike up here. Whereas if we'd graphed it with 3 and 5, 6, 7 and so on, the spike might not have been so big. All right, this is an example. This scale here is called a logarithmic scale, and it shouldn't be used to show things like this. This one over here, a 3D graph, looks very fancy. Makes it look like this 1995 sold huge amounts of singles, which are CDs or songs, right? Whereas all the others didn't sell very much. But because it's 3D, it's actually misleading on the way we picture it. This is what it looks like as 2D. And you can see there that 1995 had exactly the same amount as 1997. So again, that's misleading just because of the fact that it's 3D. Down here, 2 graphs side by side, the same data. Years across the bottom, and the same numbers up the side, except on the right hand side we start at 100 and we go up in 50s. Left hand side we start at 130 and we go up in 10s. So this spike here can't be seen on the right hand side. So again, depending on what my claim was, if I was trying to claim that there was a big spike, I would draw it like this. If I was trying to claim the change hadn't been as huge, I would draw it like this. Alright, so the goal of this is for you to ask yourselves, what's the graph trying to tell me? Are they misleading me somehow? Alright, so nobody in the real world is going to actually tell you this. You have to know how to interpret graphs and look at these things that they're showing you. Okay, so if you see a graph like these ones in front of us, you would say to yourself, yes, it does look quite a big spike, but they've gone up in 10s. What reason would they have to go up in 10s? Or you might look on the one on the right and you say, yes, it doesn't look pretty bad, or it doesn't look very spiky, but they've gone up in 50s. Why have they gone up in 50s? All right, so this is really on you interpreting your graphs. So after this, we're going to have a quick flip through the textbook and we'll see what the questions are like, and then I'm going to give you a go.